I'm David Anderson. On behalf of the System Dynamics Society, I'd like to thank Ken Cooper for sharing many of your experiences over the last 40 years. We've been having a very, very interesting discussion about project dynamics, and that discussion continues with the Fluor model.
Thanks, David. It's a pleasure to be here. The Fluor opportunity was unique in my experience. With that work, we had a chance to bring together for one client, so much of the learning that took place over the previous decades in modeling an assortment of projects. Fluor Corporation is one of the world's largest engineering and construction firms, in excess of $20 billion revenue, doing projects, large mega construction projects around the world, power plants, refineries. If there's a large project around involving civil construction, there's a fair chance that Fluor is involved in some way. As we've seen in a lot of the cases that about which we've talked, and that many of you will have already seen, the opportunity for cost overruns, and with those cost overruns, disputes between customer and contractor, the opportunity for that to occur is quite high, disturbingly high. As evidence of that, the Fluor Corporation, as many other construction firms, actually had a department that was dedicated internally to dealing with claims. The head of that department was named Greg Lee, and Greg brought us in to work on one of those very large claims. Again, just as in the case of Northrop, for example, where claims work led to proactive help and corporate policy work. A similar path occurred here. After what was viewed as very helpful work on this first large claim, Greg's very explicit question to us was, can we somehow turn this around so that there is a system, a systematic way to use this modeling capability to reduce cost overruns and specifically to avoid claims, which are very costly diversions of time and talent away from the business of running the company and the projects, and dedicated, unfortunately, to arguing with your very own clients. So that allowed us the opportunity to, as we did, to build a system and define a set of practices to rapidly and automatically tailor this core project model to the performance of a variety of specific projects. We used a lot of a large numerical database on the performance and the characteristics of different types of projects at Fluor, and the basic project model was set up with an interface that we built to allow trained users in Fluor, and we trained many dozens of users throughout the world, to allow the users to test the project-wide impacts of changes, specific changes of many different types. And importantly, not just to predict with the aid of the model the full impact of those changes, including the when looked at from a claims point of view, what would be called disruption or secondary impact. But not just to look at the full cost impact of the changes, but also to examine potential mitigations that could be undertaken to reduce the costs. Technically very successful, and in business terms very successful. It has been used internally to Fluor on over 150 projects. The client estimated at that point that the system had saved Fluor and its clients $1.3 billion. In the course of doing that work, we used the same system, working off the same kind of model, to conduct analyses to serve as corporate guidelines for, especially in terms of the scheduling of work, identifying the extent to which looser or tighter schedules on preliminary engineering, detailed engineering, and construction would affect the cost performance of each stage. So how do we get that chance to produce a first of its kind system? The answer to that goes back to acknowledging the value of having an executive champion who's lived through the fires of these dispute activities, and who has the courage to stand up and advocate and stand by doing something different. And that person here was Greg Lee at Fluor, and he then became, understandably, the co-author of the paper that we wrote on the experience, which was entitled "Managing the Dynamics of Projects and Changes at Fluor." And in that paper, which I believe will be accessible, we describe in more detail the system work and the nature of the analyses that were done to assist Fluor Corporation.
So thank you, Ken. That was the award-winning work from the 2009 Applications Award of the System Dynamics Society.
Thank you, Dave. And we were talking a bit earlier, and I'm reminded that there's this interesting sort of bookend quality to that work, in that 30 years prior to that, the original claims work for Litton was successful in the Franz Edelman competition of the Institute of Management Science, now Informs, and then of course that was for work in support of a large claim. And then 30 years later, the same competition and the work to avoid claims with this system enabled us to become a two-time Edelman Laureate, but for obviously diametrically opposite reasons.
I'm not going to ask you this question, but I am going to wonder how many people in the world are two-time Edelman laureates, and we're really pleased to have you here with us.
Thank you, David. My pleasure.